Yeah, all of it.
What did you ask?
Could we step
I
back
did-
about
yeah, I-
2 feet, about right there?
What did you?
This is the Louisiana Tech head coach, Sonny Cumbie, who he's speaking to some of the press tonight. Let's go on over to see what he's talking about.
So, Coach, how you feeling being back here?
I've enjoyed it. Yeah, we're excited. I think it's always great anytime we can come over here.
All right. Sorry to interrupt.
All good.
We can proceed.
You need me to hold this?
I got it. So, Coach, how you feeling?
All right, Coach, just sort of talk about the difference in the vibe from last year. Last year you were calling people, to come back in town, and this year you punched that ticket. You knew you were going to a bowl game. You're the team that has sort of more of the momentum. Tell me about the difference in the 2 years.
I think just the excitement and the energy level that our football team has brought. I think, understanding that just from a win-loss standpoint, our guys are really proud of the fact that we earned our way into this bowl game. And, I think the opportunity to play in the Radiance Technologies Independence Bowl in Shreveport, an hour away from our campus, is just a tremendous opportunity for our players, for our program, for our institution, and for North Louisiana. Anytime that we can play a game in the Independence Bowl Stadium, it's a big deal. And, our players have had a great month of prep. I think the timing also allowing our guys to have more time and to have more of a plan that we feel, in terms of from a coaching staff standpoint, how we've organized the plan to really build up so our players are performing at a high level on the 30th, which is next Tuesday. We've been very grateful for that. And, I think our kids have really responded. They're excited about the opportunity to play a bowl game. They're excited about the opportunity to play in the Independence Bowl. And so I think there's a completely different vibe, from that standpoint. And I think just the outlook and I think the mentality with which they prepared in terms of getting to this game and wanting to finish this season in the right way.
How much have you and Jeremiah talked this past week? Of course, the history with Jeremiah and Rustin over the last couple of years. How much conversation have y'all had in the last couple of weeks since this matchup was announced?
No, not much. Throughout the course of the year, I would text him and actually talk to him when he was made in the interim, and just tried to, to support him from the standpoint. I've been in that situation before at Texas Tech, and it's a difficult situation as you get into the end of the season. But other than that, once this bowl game was announced, everyone, kind of buckled down and concentrated on our preparation. And I think that, I'm no doubt that he'll have them ready to play.
Talk about being in Shreveport. What a Shreveport connection on special teams for you guys. I don't want to put words in your mouth like a weapon, but John Chance this year with his punts and some of his kickoffs and field goal. Tell me about what he's meant to this program.
You're exactly right. Johnny Chance. I call him Legatron. Just because he is such a weapon for our football team. Just incredible. I think there have been 3 kickoffs this year that haven't been touchbacks, and I think 2 of them, we squibbed and or been, an onside situation. Just an incredible weapon in terms of kickoffs, in terms of punts. Just flipping the field. There's times where, he's had 60-yard plus punts, and then also he has the accuracy to be able to hang the ball up, and pooch punt situations where we're pinning people inside the 10-yard line, and then, to be able to come in long-range field goal situations. We have just a ton of confidence in John, and he's been a huge asset to our program. And I think if you look at it from the standpoint of offense, defense, and special teams, he's been, one of our top performers. When you look at someone just doing their job at a very, very elite level, John Chance has definitely done that, and we're extremely excited. This game for him last year was really the starting point for him in terms of kickoffs, and it was his debut, and we were really excited and confident in him then. And I think he's had a whole season to prove that that he's been just a great weapon for our football team. And that's another great thing about this bowl game and a bowl game opportunity is you're going to have guys, and we talked with our players, is there's guys within our team that we know are really good football players that maybe outside of the normal day in and day out, the casual fan or the fan that watches us all the time might not know their name. And I think this game, is going to give an opportunity for some more guys of our team to emerge.
Coach, there's been a lot of talk about how bowls like this have been somewhat demeaned on the playoffs. And what does it mean to Louisiana Tech to have a place to go and to have a place to go and play?
Well, I think that's really a strong word, you know, in terms of, I mean, I think this is an unbelievable bowl game. You know, I think this is the 49th edition of the Independence Radiance Technologies Independence Bowl. When you've been a bowl game for 49 years, you've done something the right way. And, you know, I've been to 13 bowls in my career as a player and as a coach. And I think the one thing that, much like as we sell and talk about in recruiting, and what makes Louisiana Tech great is the people. And what makes this bowl game so great and makes it so enticing for our players is the people, from the hospitality, and you feel the energy of a bowl game that wants you here. And I think on every event, everything that you do is encountered with great enthusiasm. It's encountered with hospitality. And I think this is one of the best bowl games from that standpoint that I've ever been to. And I played in the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, and it was a great experience. But this is from a hospitality, from the people, from the excitement, from the energy, from the, hey, we are excited about you guys being here, that they provide our student athletes with an incredible experience. The events that we're going to go to at Holy Angels is really just, it really, from an inspiration standpoint, it inspires us probably more than we can give back on that. And then, you know, you have an opportunity, a lot of guys have not ever been here. Again, with this transfer portal era, you know, at times your roster does change over. And so we've got a lot of guys that are looking forward to going to Chasing Aces. A lot of guys are looking to get together again and going bowling. And then you're doing that all in a place that the people are really excited that you're there. And so I think this bowl game, you know, in 49th edition, you know, it has a great amount of meaning, you know, to college football. And I think when you look back at the names that have played in this game, the Eli Mannings, Daniel Jones, Takeo Spikes, you know, I think back to all of those names that have played. You know, it's a big time bowl game. It's a great atmosphere, and we're really excited to be here and hope to continue to have the opportunity to win enough games in the future to continue to come back.
Coach, the defense has been stupendous this year, forcing multiple turnovers. You got your All-American safety, Jakari Foster was a great part of it. Anything you guys seen looking over at Coastal that you guys can take on defensively?
You know, I think that from a defensive back standpoint, our defensive backs have done a great job of really the take it mentality. They Coach Olson has fostered, and I think that, you know, Jakari is a great example of the time, energy, and effort that he has put into making himself a better safety in terms of ball skills, his anticipation. I think his football intelligence is really off the charts, and I think that you see that in terms of how fast he plays. And I think in terms of communication, he makes, you know, I think the definition of a leader also, there's a lot of different definitions, but he makes other people around him better. He makes our defense better by being on the field. And a lot of that is coaching, but a lot of it also is just his ability. And I think that he's in position to make plays because he can anticipate. He studies the game at a very high level. And I think in terms of what Coastal's going to do, you know, it's a little bit of an unknown just because, you know, with that transition in terms of the head coach, and then now, you know, in terms of the coordinator and who's calling plays and what does that look like, you know, who's playing quarterback, you know, I think there's a little bit of an unknown, but I think that they'll be really well prepared. And so it's important for us, you know, defensively to do a great job of communicating, do a great job of tackling, and do a great job of creating takeaways.
You know, Jakari made headlines earlier this week. You know, with that, how do you coach that, you know, in a bowl game?
What are you referring to? Jakari Foster? No, he's a senior. He declared for the draft. Yeah. He declared for the draft, and you know, he was a guy that, you know, oddly enough, he was second team All Conference USA, but he was Walter Camp's second team All American, the longest running All American award that there is, and then also first team Associated Press All American, and so led the country in interceptions, and then, you know, I think the thing about, you know, all of our players is you, like, those stats and the way that you play the game are all great, and the thing that we appreciate about him and really all of our guys is just who they are on a daily basis, and kind of the character that they reflect, the enthusiasm for the game. Because I think back to January and February, and when our guys were working out, there was a lot of uncertainty hovering around our defense. But one of the things that was really consistent when you watched our guys work out was Jakari's work ethic, in terms of how he showed up with great body language, with great energy, and just did a tremendous job of making himself a better football player. And I'm excited about, you know, him being able to play this Tuesday and showing, you know, not only North Louisiana but also on a national stage on ESPN, you know, his ability as an All-American is earned, and I'm looking forward to him making plays on Tuesday.
Coach, this might be more for a podcast than a 30-second soundbite, but if you had the power, you know, with the craziness going on, coaches leaving playoff teams, players leaving every college at this time of year, what would you change?
Roy, in doing interviews, I get the message. You want me to be brief?
No, I meant this is a topic we could talk about forever.
No, it is, Roy, it is. I think what I would change is just the calendar. I think that the calendar in terms of all of this is just not fair to the players, first off. It's not fair to our student athletes. and then the coaches, in terms of when you have to make decisions in terms of jobs and the middle of the playoffs and players are pressed to make decisions. I think you have to address the calendar and make it to where everyone's season is completely finished, and then now coaches and players, if there are opportunities, have an opportunity to pursue those further.
Precursor for your time in the program in the Sun Belt, what pride do you take in representing Conference USA for the final time?
I think we have a lot of pride in representing Louisiana Tech one more time for this 2025 season, and I think that's the thing that we talked about a lot is we want to do a great job, in terms of it being about us, our football team, and our conference affiliation. We're excited about the things that have been happening in Conference USA, but at the end of the day, we're really looking forward to having one more opportunity as an institution to put out a great performance that reflects what we're about in terms of Louisiana Tech, in terms of our football players playing fast, playing physical and playing smart. Hopefully ending up in a winning effort, and then as we'll worry about transitioning into the Sun Belt, whenever that does happen.
The alumni base of Louisiana Tech pretty prevalent in Shreveport. Your message to them about coming out, supporting, and being here for the Bulldogs in the final home game of the year, final game of the year.
Right. Yeah, this is a huge alumni base for us. That's the reason why we every spring come and have typically our 13th spring practice in Bossier at Freedom Fields, just because we want people to come out and bring the show on the road to them, and we understand the importance of all of our alumni in Shreveport and East Texas, and this is a place where people can get to from Dallas very easily. And I would say this, is you have a group of young men in the locker room that really, I think, exude what Louisiana Tech's about in terms of what they care about, in terms of the game, in terms of how they show up every day with great body language, with great intent. I think that they know who they are as young men. They know who they are in terms of this program, and they have, I think, fought and competed and have stuck together this season, and I think that is something worth cheering for, and cheering if you have an opportunity to know who these guys are as people. They're phenomenal people, and so it's a great opportunity. It's going to be a great afternoon, 1 o'clock game, and it'll be a great chance to come and send this football team off, the 2025 team, with a lot of support that they've earned.
Just Marty can't walk by reminded me, Caden got a few opportunities and extra points. Is he going to be in the mix to maybe get an opportunity?
Yeah, he'll be in the mix. Yeah, he will. I think we've had a competition there at the kicker spot, between he and Drew Henderson, and so that's ongoing, as it'll carry over probably Wednesday. The days are all screwed up for me in terms of the practice days, and so when I say Wednesday practice, and then also probably a Friday, which will be Monday, and so we'll carry that over right up until the competition, really until game day. But Kagan's done a phenomenal job as a young freshman.
As a former quarterback, is this one of the most challenging years you've had, having 2 year QBs go down and you got a Q-Cuck?
Yeah, it's been, it has been a challenge from that standpoint, and I would really commend Coach Franklin and our offensive staff, because I think what you've seen offensively in terms of how, it took a while, I think, for us to find our footing with Blake, and then obviously he goes down. But then I think what coaching is taking the talent that you have and molding what you're trying to do to accentuate the strengths of your players. And that's what, Coach Franklin and the offensive staff has done, is they've really been able to play to the strength of our players. And, Trey's been an unbelievable competitor and teammate in these last really 2 weeks that we've played in the season. And I think it's just elevated his game. I think he's healthy again, which is critical in terms of throwing the football. So I think you can expect us to be, more productive and explosive in that area also.
Coach, you guys have a three-headed monster in the backfield: Feeble, Burnett, and Wiggins. Talk to me about the success you guys had seen running the ball. I think all of them have had at least one big game this season, and they've just done a great job helping us get things going.
Yeah, I think that the strength of our offense is really our offensive line, and they've done a great job of winning at the line of scrimmage. And then, when you get into games, one of our goals is to be able to dominate the line of scrimmage, and our guys up front have done that. And they've gotten better and better as the season's gone on. And I think that's where you've seen a Burnett have big performances. You've seen our quarterback, have the performances, Trey Cook have the performances he's had, and then also Clay Tevlin in terms of the explosiveness that he has out of the backfield. And so excited about seeing those guys perform, one more time. I think over the course of these bowl practices, I think that our guys have continued to build off of where they finished in terms of Liberty and Missouri State, running the football, being really physical, moving people off the ball. And I think that one of the things is, from an offensive line standpoint and our tight ends, is they're really in sync, and they do a great job of playing together and being really physical.
And Coach, you released the regular season on a 2-game winning streak. What would it mean for you guys just as a team to be able to cap the season off with a win here this week?
Yeah, it would be huge, for this football team. I think 8-5 is a lot better than 7-6, and I think there's a big difference in that. And I think again, when you study the season that our kids have gone through, I think there's been a great amount of growth. I mean, we've had a couple of games, you lose 2 games by 1 point, and probably, in some of the toughest fashions that you've had to lose a game. And then to see these guys bounce back and the resiliency and toughness and the mental strength that they have, I think, coming back from 28-7 down against Liberty in the middle of the third quarter to win that football game in overtime, guys made plays. Missouri State, you're in about the worst elements that you can think of, and our guys didn't flinch and they didn't blink, and so I think it's important that we continue to use that momentum, and I think our team has found who that they are, from that standpoint, and so to be able to get this 8th win would be important, and it's a big springboard into next season as well, but also I think it would be a great ending to a great season for these guys.
How was your Christmas?
Christmas was great. We were the 24th and 25th. We were able to spend with family, my wife, my 2 boys, my in-laws, and a couple of staff members who couldn't make it out of town. For Christmas, they came over on Christmas Day, watched a lot of football, figured out how to get all those games on our TV from the streaming services, which that took about halftime of the first game for me to figure it out because I'm not good at that stuff. But our players had an opportunity, if they could, to spend Christmas with their families, and so. You want to be playing football around Thanksgiving, and you want to be playing football around Christmas. That means you've had a good season, and so those are things that we're very grateful for, and I think that's a great time about this year is you have a chance to reflect on those types of things. So that was a great Christmas. Yeah, thank you.
Coach, thanks so much.
Thanks a lot. Yeah, no problem, man. Yeah, appreciate you, Jimmy. Thanks. Yeah, appreciate you.